How to make your enemies fear you without saying a word. Buddhist wisdom. You're standing in a crowded room, surrounded by voices, conversations, and the low hum of laughter. Then suddenly, someone calls you out. It cuts through the noise like a knife. A sharp, deliberate insult. Maybe it's a rival at work, a jealous acquaintance, or a stranger who's decided to test you. And just like that, the room goes quiet. Every pair of eyes locks onto you. The air shifts. The weight of attention presses down like an invisible force. They're waiting, watching, to see how you'll respond. Your pulse quickens. 1,000 thoughts race through your mind. The easiest reaction: fire back, defend yourself, raise your voice, prove them wrong. But the moment you do, you lose. Not because you're wrong, not because they're right, but because they got exactly what they wanted, a reaction. Now, they know they can control you. They've discovered what makes you tick. And just like that, they hold the power. But what if, instead of reacting, you did nothing? What if you didn't flinch, didn't break eye contact, didn't offer them a single word in return? Imagine the silence stretching between you. Imagine the shift in their energy. They expected fire, and instead, they got ice. Suddenly, they're the ones feeling uneasy. They don't know if they've won or if they've just made a mistake. They don't know what's coming next. That uncertainty, that quiet, unreadable presence, it's more terrifying than any comeback you could have made. And at that moment, you hold all the power. This isn't just a trick. This is a skill that has been taught and mastered for centuries, not by warriors, not by kings, but by those who have conquered something far greater than their enemies, themselves. Buddhist wisdom teaches that the strongest person in the room isn't the loudest. It's not the one who argues, shouts, or demands respect. It's the one who remains unshaken. True power doesn't come from proving yourself to others. It comes from mastering your emotions, controlling your reactions, and knowing that silence, when used correctly, is the most powerful response of all. So if you want to develop a presence so commanding that your enemies hesitate before they even dare challenge you, if you want to turn your silence into a force that makes others rethink their words before they even speak them, if you want to walk into a room and own it, without ever needing to say a word, then keep watching, because today, I'm going to share with you 7 powerful Buddhist principles that will transform the way you carry yourself, the way others perceive you, and most importantly, the way you handle every challenge thrown your way. By the end of this, you won't just survive these moments. You will own them. Let's begin. 1. Master your emotions. The art of inner stillness. The room is silent, yet the tension is loud. The words have been spoken, the insult, the challenge, the provocation. The air between you and the other person feels heavy, charged with unspoken energy. Every muscle in your body wants to react. Your mind floods with responses. Defend yourself. Say something clever. Shut him down. Prove your worth. But in that moment, a question arises. What if you did nothing? This is where most people fail. They let emotion take the wheel. They allow their anger, their pride, their need to be right dictate their actions. But the truly powerful, the ones who walk through the world untouched by the noise, they understand something most don't. The one who controls their emotions, controls the moment. The Buddha once said, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. How often do we let ourselves burn? How often do we carry the weight of someone else's words long after they've spoken them? Anger, frustration, resentment, they don't hurt the person who provoked us. They consume us. They steal our peace, cloud our judgment, and weaken our power. Now, imagine you are no longer the storm, no longer the one who reacts, who flares up, who allows the words and actions of others to dictate your state of mind. Instead, you become the mountain, unshaken, steady. You do not need to prove yourself because your presence alone commands respect. You do not need to defend yourself because your silence speaks volumes. And the ones who once tried to provoke you, they begin to hesitate, they begin to doubt, because nothing is more intimidating than a person they cannot control. Thomas was like most people, someone who took pride in defending himself, in proving his intelligence, in winning arguments. His colleague, Jake, had noticed this. He saw an easy target, so he made it his personal mission to push Thomas's buttons. A slight remark here, a challenge in a meeting there, a joke at Thomas's expense. And every time, Thomas fell for it. He snapped back, he explained, he played into Jake's game. Until one day, he saw the pattern. He realized that Jake's true goal wasn't to be right, it was to get a reaction. It was never about the words, it was about control. So Thomas decided to break the cycle. The next time Jake tried to provoke him, Thomas did something radical. He did nothing. He sat back. He met Jake's gaze but did not engage. He let the insult hang in the air like smoke, refusing to fan the flames. And what happened next was something Jake didn't expect. Jake became uncomfortable. He fidgeted in his seat. He laughed, expecting Thomas to fire back. But there was no fire. There was only stillness. So Jake tried again. Another comment, another attempt. But again, nothing. And then, something even more unexpected happened. Jake stopped. His power over Thomas disappeared. Not because Thomas had won an argument, not because he had found the perfect response, but because he had refused to play the game. This is what true strength looks like. Not loud, not aggressive, not desperate to be heard, but quiet, certain, completely unshaken. Most people think power is about having the last word. But in reality, true power is in not needing to speak at all. When you master your emotions, when you refuse to let your enemies dictate your actions, you create a presence that is far more terrifying than anger. Because now, they don't know what you're thinking. They don't know what you'll do next. And that uncertainty, it is far more powerful than any comeback you could have given. So how do you become the mountain? How do you develop this unshakable presence? First, identify your triggers. Who are the people that provoke you? What situations make you lose control? Awareness is the first step to mastery. The moment you recognize the pattern, you begin to break it. Second, pause before reacting. When someone tries to push you, take a breath. Let the silence stretch. The moment between provocation and response is where your power lies. Do not hand it over so easily. And finally, remember that silence is stronger than words. Let them question themselves. Let them wonder if they went too far. Let them feel the weight of your stillness. A person who cannot be rattled is a person who cannot be controlled. And in this world, there is no greater power than that. 2. Maintain an unshakable presence, the aura of silent confidence. There is a rare kind of presence that turns heads the moment it enters a room. Not because it is loud, not because it seeks attention, but because it simply is. It moves with quiet confidence, unaffected by the noise around it. It does not beg for approval, nor does it shrink to fit into the expectations of others. It stands on its own, solid, steady, and unshakable. This is the presence of someone who is truly at peace with themselves. A presence that commands respect without demanding it. A presence that needs no words, no force, no performance, because its power lies in stillness. The Buddha once said, "No one can harm you unless you allow them into your mind." This is the essence of an unshakable presence. It is not about being physically untouchable. It is about being mentally and emotionally impenetrable. When you control your inner world, nothing from the outside can shake you, and the world notices. People often confuse confidence with arrogance, thinking that to be respected, they must be the loudest voice in the room, the one who dominates conversations, the one who asserts their authority at every opportunity. But true confidence is not about proving yourself to others, it is about knowing you do not need to. Ethan understood this. He was not the type to speak just to be heard. He did not interrupt, did not push his opinions, did not feel the need to outshine anyone. And yet, people listened to him more than they listened to those who tried to assert their importance. His secret, stillness. While others rushed to make their points, Ethan took his time. When conversations grew heated, he remained calm. When people challenged him, he didn't react impulsively, he paused, thought, and responded with clarity, and because he was not easily shaken, because he did not scramble to prove himself, others naturally gravitated toward him. There is something powerful about a person who does not seek validation. When someone walks with quiet confidence, without needing to be the center of attention, it makes people lean in. A person like this does not move frantically. They move deliberately. They do not rush to fill silences. They embrace them. They do not fear the opinions of others. They are too focused on their own path to be bothered by external noise. This is why those with an unshakable presence often seem larger than life, not because they take up more space, but because they own the space they occupy. How do you cultivate this kind of presence? Slow down. The world moves fast. People talk fast, react fast, rush to fill every silence. But those who command true respect understand the power of deliberate movement. Deliberate speech. When you slow down, people pay attention. Stand tall. Your posture speaks before you do. A person who stands with confidence, with their head held high and their movements purposeful, signals to the world that they are in control, not just of their body, but of their mind. Speak less, but say more. Not everything needs a response. Not every argument needs your participation. When you speak only when necessary, when you let your words be thoughtful and intentional, people will begin to listen more closely when you do choose to speak. Let others chase validation. You don't need to. Confidence isn't loud. It is unshakable. When you stop seeking external approval, when you no longer feel the need to constantly prove yourself, your energy shifts. People notice when you are comfortable in your own skin. Think of the great leaders, the spiritual teachers, the wise figures throughout history. They did not command respect through force or arrogance. They commanded it through presence. A presence that came not from their words, but from the energy they carried. A person with an unshakable presence is one who has mastered themselves. They do not react emotionally to every provocation. They do not allow the opinions of others to dictate their self-worth. They do not rush. They do not force. They simply are, and that is enough. 3. Let your actions speak. The power of silent mastery. The world is filled with voices, people declaring their ambitions, making bold promises, and painting grand pictures of the future. It's easy to talk, easy to claim, easy to say, one day, I will be successful, one day, people will respect me, one day, I will have everything I want. But words alone do not shape reality. Words alone do not build empires, earn respect, or create lasting influence. The Buddha once said, "A jug fills drop by drop." The wise do not boast, they simply grow. Real power does not come from what you say you will do, it comes from what you actually do. And more importantly, what you consistently do. There is a quiet strength in those who do not feel the need to announce their every move. They do not seek validation for their efforts. They do not waste energy trying to convince others of their potential. They simply act, relentlessly, without the need for recognition. And over time, their results speak louder than any words ever could. Jack was like so many people, full of ambition, full of ideas, always talking about the things he was going to do. "I'm going to start my own company," he would say. "I'll be successful, just wait and see." But year after year, nothing changed. He was still in the same place, still repeating the same words, still waiting for the perfect moment to begin. Then, one day, something shifted. Jack stopped talking. He stopped telling people about his goals. He stopped seeking approval for his dreams. And instead, he simply got to work. At first, no one noticed. There were no grand announcements, no flashy declarations, just quiet, steady effort. Every morning, before the world woke up, Jack was working. Every evening, while others were lost in distractions, Jack was building. He poured himself into his work, not for praise, not for recognition, but because he knew that true success does not need to be spoken into existence, it needs to be built. And then, slowly, people began to notice. They saw the changes, not because Jack told them, but because his work became undeniable. His business grew, his results became visible, and by the time his success became evident, He no longer had to say a word. His actions had already spoken for him. This is the power of silent mastery. The world is full of noise, full of people trying to convince others of their greatness. But those who truly succeed do not need to convince anyone. Their results do the talking. So how do you cultivate this kind of power? First, say less, do more. Let your work speak for itself. The more you talk about what you plan to do, the more energy you waste. Instead, redirect that energy into actually doing it. Second, stay consistent. Power is not built in a single moment of effort. It is built through discipline, through repetition, through quiet persistence when no one is watching. Every great achievement is the result of small, consistent actions, repeated over time. And finally, understand that credibility is earned, not announced. You do not need to tell people you are powerful. You do not need to prove yourself with words. The moment you stop trying to convince others of your worth and simply focus on becoming better every day, people will start to notice. And when they do, it won't be because of what you said. It will be because of what you did. The strongest presence is the one that does not need to seek attention. The most respected individuals are those who do not demand respect, but earn it effortlessly, through their actions. When you live this way, you will find that people stop questioning you. They stop doubting you, because there is nothing more undeniable than results. And when you finally reach the success you once only spoke about, you will look back and realize something. You never needed to say a word. 4. Never overreact to insults. The strength of indifference. An insult is a trap. It is an invitation into a battle you don't need to fight. When someone throws harsh words your way, what they truly want is not to be right, but to be in control. They want to provoke you, to manipulate your emotions, to make you react in a way that validates their power over you. The Buddha once said, "A fool who insults a wise man is like someone spitting at the sky. The dirt does not reach the heavens, but falls back on the one who threw it." What does this mean? It means that when someone insults you, their words do not have the power to harm you unless you give them that power. An insult is nothing more than sound and air. It only becomes real when you accept it. Think about the last time someone insulted you. Maybe they questioned your intelligence, mocked your choices, or tried to humiliate you in front of others. What was your first instinct? Did you feel the urge to defend yourself, to fight back, to prove them wrong? That's what they wanted. They wanted to pull you into their game. But what if, instead of reacting, you simply refused to play? Linda learned this lesson the hard way. She worked with a colleague who seemed determined to belittle her at every opportunity. The remarks were subtle at first, backhanded compliments, passive-aggressive jokes, but over time, they became more direct. Every meeting, every casual conversation, there it was again, a jab, a snide remark, a pointed insult disguised as humor. At first, Linda did what most people would do. She defended herself, she explained, she argued, she tried to prove that the things being said about her were unfair, untrue, undeserved. But the more she fought back, the worse it became. And then, one day, she saw the pattern. Her colleague didn't need to win the argument, he only needed to make her react. He thrived on the conflict, on the rise he got out of her. That was the real goal. And Linda had been unknowingly feeding it. So she stopped. The next time he insulted her, she did something different. She simply smiled. Not a forced, bitter smile, but a genuine, amused one, as if she had just watched a child throw a tantrum. And then, without saying a word, she turned and walked away. And in that moment, something shifted. Her colleague was left standing there, waiting for a reaction that never came. The power dynamic changed instantly. He had been expecting an argument, a defense, a show of emotion. Instead, he got silence, indifference. And that silence was deafening. Linda had taken away the one thing that fueled his behavior, her reaction. And without it, he had nothing. This is the strength of indifference. Most people believe that fighting back is the way to prove their strength. But true power comes from knowing when not to engage. When you refuse to react, you communicate something much stronger than anger. You communicate that the insult is beneath you. That the person trying to hurt you does not hold any real influence over your emotions. And that realization is what unsettles them the most. So how do you cultivate this strength in your own life? First, understand that an insult only has as much power as you give it. If you internalize it, if you let it affect you, you have handed control over to the person who said it. But if you recognize it for what it is, just words, just noise, you take that power back. Second, master the art of the smile. A calm, knowing smile can be far more unsettling than any retaliation. It tells the other person that their words have not shaken you in the slightest. It makes them question themselves. It makes them feel foolish. And finally, conserve your energy. People who go around insulting others are seeking attention, validation, and control. Let them waste their energy. Let them shout into the void. While they burn themselves out trying to provoke you, you remain steady, untouchable, at peace. The moment you realize that an insult is nothing more than someone else's projection of their own insecurities, you become immune to it. And once you reach that level of self-control, you will notice something remarkable. The people who once tried to bring you down will either back away or fade into irrelevance. Because nothing makes an enemy feel smaller than a person who refuses to be bothered by them. 5. Control what they know about you, the power of mystery. There is a quiet strength in the unknown, a presence that is felt, but never fully understood. A person who speaks little but moves with certainty creates an aura that is both intriguing and intimidating. The Buddha once said, "The wise man does not reveal everything. He knows that mystery is a shield." And he was right. Mystery is not deception, it is power. When people think they know everything about you, they begin to feel a sense of control. They believe they can predict your moves, anticipate your reactions, and, if they choose, manipulate your decisions. But when you become unreadable, when you keep just enough of yourself unknown, you become difficult to predict, difficult to control, and, most importantly, difficult to undermine. Chris was someone who had not yet learned this lesson. He was open with everyone, perhaps too open. He believed that honesty and transparency would earn him trust, respect, and connection. He shared his goals, his struggles, his weaknesses, and his plans for the future with those around him, believing that by doing so, he was fostering relationships. But then, something started to happen. The people he thought he could trust began to use his words against him. His struggles were turned into doubts about his capabilities. His plans were subtly sabotaged by those who saw an opportunity to get ahead. His weaknesses, the ones he had shared in moments of vulnerability, were now being used to manipulate him. Chris had made the mistake that many do. He had given away his power without even realizing it. So, he made a change. He stopped talking so much about himself. He kept his plans private. He shared just enough to maintain connection but never enough for people to truly know what he was thinking. He became an enigma, someone who was present, confident, and engaged but never fully readable. And then, everything shifted. People started treating him differently. Conversations became more respectful. Those who had once taken advantage of his openness now hesitated, unsure of where he stood, unsure of what he was thinking. By embracing mystery, Chris had reclaimed his power. This is the power of being unreadable. When you do not reveal everything, when you do not hand people a roadmap to your mind, you become a force that is both compelling and untouchable. The less predictable you are, the harder it is for others to manipulate or control you. So, how do you apply this? First, keep your plans private. Not everyone needs to know your next move. The more people know about what you intend to do, the more opportunities they have to interfere, discourage, or sabotage you. Work in silence. Let your success be the only announcement you make. Second, be careful with who you trust. Not everyone who listens to you has your best interests at heart. Some people collect information about you, not to understand you, but to use it when it benefits them. Learn to distinguish between genuine connections and those who simply want access to your mind. Third, make people guess. Uncertainty is intimidating. When people cannot predict how you will react, what you will say, or what your next move will be, they tread more carefully. They respect the unknown, not because they fear it, but because they do not know how to navigate it. Think of the great leaders, the influential figures throughout history. They did not reveal everything. They understood that power is not just about strength or intelligence, but about control over what others know about you. When you cultivate an air of mystery, when you master the art of silence, when you move with quiet confidence, you create an aura that draws people in while keeping them at just the right distance. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts. Not everyone should know what you are planning. Some things are meant to be kept within you, nurtured, and allowed to grow without the interference of outside opinions. Because the moment people think they know everything about you is the moment they believe they can define you. And once they believe they can define you, they will try to limit you. But when you remain unreadable, when you move in ways they do not expect, when you hold on to the essence of mystery, you remain limitless, and that is true power. 6. Make power moves in silence, the art of undetected success. There is a certain kind of power that doesn't need to announce itself. It moves quietly, without seeking permission or approval. It builds in the dark, unnoticed, until one day, it is undeniable. The Buddha once said, "Move like a shadow, grow like a tree, strong, silent, and unstoppable." This is the art of making power moves in silence. The world is full of noise, people declaring their plans, making promises, telling anyone who will listen about the big things they are going to do. But there is a reason why so many of these promises never come to life. When people see your moves too early, they have the chance to stop you. Not always out of malice, sometimes out of doubt, skepticism, or their own fears. Other times, it is pure sabotage. People don't like to see others rise too fast. Emma learned this lesson the hard way. She had big dreams, and she was excited about them. Every time she had a new idea, she shared it, with friends, with colleagues, with anyone who would listen. She expected support. She expected encouragement. Instead, she was met with resistance. Some people dismissed her dreams. "That's too difficult. Are you sure you can pull that off? Maybe you should be more realistic." Others went a step further, trying to discourage her, throwing obstacles in her way, even stealing some of her ideas before she could act on them. Emma felt drained. She hadn't even begun, and yet she was already facing resistance. That's when she realized the truth. People sabotage what they see coming. So, let them see nothing. She made a decision. She stopped talking. She stopped sharing. She stopped announcing her next steps. And she worked in silence. While others were busy talking, she was busy building. While others were debating their next move, she had already taken hers. While they were waiting for the right moment, she was creating it. And then, something incredible happened. By the time her success was visible, it was too late for anyone to stop her. This is the power of moving in silence. When no one knows what you are doing, no one can interfere. When no one sees your next move, they cannot block it. When you work in the dark, your results become the only thing people can talk about. So how do you apply this in your own life? First, keep your ambitions to yourself. Not every dream needs an audience. Not every plan needs approval. Some things are meant to be nurtured in silence, protected from the doubts and negativity of others. Let your work be a private conversation between you and your purpose. Second, surprise the world with results, not words. When you talk too much about your goals, your mind gives you a false sense of accomplishment, as if speaking it is the same as achieving it. But real success is built through quiet, consistent effort. Let people see what you have done, not what you intend to do. And finally, understand that success is best achieved in silence. There is a reason why the strongest trees grow quietly. Their roots take hold deep beneath the surface, unseen and unshaken by the storms above. By the time they are noticed, they are already too strong to be moved. Many of the greatest successes in history were built this way, not loudly, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. in the early mornings, in the late nights, when no one was watching. Those who change the world do not seek permission. They do not wait for validation. They do not waste energy convincing others. They simply do, and when they finally emerge, when their success is no longer something that can be denied, the world does not ask how they did it. It only asks when it happened. 7. Be unapologetically yourself. The power of authenticity. There is something undeniably powerful about a person who no longer seeks approval. Someone who stands firm in who they are, unshaken by opinions, unbothered by expectations, unwilling to shrink just to make others comfortable. The Buddha once said, "Do not seek approval, be who you are, and those meant to walk with you will come." Most people live their entire lives chasing acceptance. They mold themselves to fit into spaces they were never meant to belong to, changing their words, their actions, even their dreams just to blend in. But the ones who leave a mark on the world are the ones who dare to be unapologetically themselves. There is no greater freedom than stepping into your truth, no greater strength than owning who you are without apology. And yet, for so many, this is the hardest thing to do. Jake was one of those people. He spent years adapting to the people around him, laughing at jokes he didn't find funny, agreeing with opinions he didn't share, suppressing parts of himself just to be liked. He believed that if he could just be what others wanted him to be, he would be accepted. But no matter how hard he tried, something was always missing. The more he changed himself, the more invisible he felt. The more he sought validation, the less valuable he felt. And then, one day, it hit him. He had spent so much time trying to belong to everyone that he had completely lost himself. So he made a decision. He stopped trying to fit in. He stopped pretending. He stopped filtering his thoughts, his personality, his essence. And then something unexpected happened. Instead of losing respect, he gained it. The people who were only around because he was convenient disappeared. But the people who truly valued him, they admired him more than ever, not because he was trying to impress them, but because he wasn't. When you own who you are, people have no choice but to respect you. The world does not respect those who seek permission to exist. It respects those who show up fully, without apology, without hesitation, those who understand that their worth is not determined by how well they fit into someone else's expectations. So how do you cultivate this kind of authenticity? First, stop seeking validation. No external approval will ever be enough if you don't approve of yourself first. The moment you stop needing others to confirm your worth, you set yourself free. Second, live by your values. Know what you stand for and stand by it. Even when it's not popular. Even when it's not easy. Integrity is rare, and people are drawn to those who have it. And finally, let people adjust to you, not the other way around. When you show up as your true self, some people will be uncomfortable. Let them be. The right people, the ones meant to be in your life, will respect you for it. The strongest presence is the one that does not bend to fit into every space. The most powerful people are those who do not dim their light for the comfort of others. When you embrace who you truly are, without apology, without hesitation, without fear, you give others permission to do the same. And that is how you change the world. Not by fitting in, but by standing out. The greatest battles are not fought with words or fists, they are fought within. The Buddha once said, "The greatest victory is not in conquering others, but in conquering yourself." And isn't that the truth? The real challenge in life is not about overpowering those who test us, not about proving ourselves to those who doubt us, but about mastering the only thing we can truly control, our own mind, our own emotions, our own reactions. Imagine moving through life unshaken. Imagine walking into any situation with the quiet confidence of someone who does not need to react, who does not need to defend, who does not need to seek approval. Imagine carrying yourself in such a way that even those who once tried to provoke you begin to hesitate, uncertain, because they no longer know how to shake you. That is true power, and it is within your reach. So here's my challenge to you. The next time someone tries to provoke you, pause, don't react, take a deep breath, meet their gaze, and say nothing. Let your silence speak for you. Observe what happens. Watch how the dynamic shifts. Feel the strength in that moment of control. If you're willing to take on this challenge, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and say, I will try this. Make this commitment to yourself, to your growth, to your peace of mind. And if you've ever experienced a moment where holding your ground in silence changed the outcome of a situation, share it with us. Your story might inspire someone else to find their own strength. And if this message resonated with you, if you found value in this, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this today, and subscribe for more wisdom to help you navigate life with clarity and confidence. Thank you for being here, for showing up for your own growth, for choosing to rise above. You are stronger than you think, wiser than you know, and more powerful than you have ever imagined. Keep walking your path, and remember, the strongest presence is the one that does not need to prove itself.